and I'm Taylor. And we're the Ghost Sisters.
Also, hey.
Hi.
I realized
It's nice to see you.
I didn't say hi. I just went straight into it and was like,
You
"What's up,
you
bitches?"
went into it. She went ham.
Fucking Whitney in the house.
Let's get this party started.
That reminded me of Douche Nation.
So,
anyways, okay, yeah. What?
No.
What you got?
So, today I've got a location feature. We're talking about a place that you've been to before, that you've likely been to a couple of these places that I'm going to talk
You're
about.
talking to just me, right? Or are you talking to everybody?
Talking to just
okay. You. I just is it the plural you or the singular?
It may be some people.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I just didn't want people in the car to be like, "Oh, she said I'd been there," and then they're like, "I haven't fucking been there."
Bitch, I ain't been there.
Taylor doesn't fucking know me.
No, we are talking about Nolans.
Not Nolans. Yeah, people have been to New Orleans, Taylor.
Nolans. So, yes, no, I know, but I knew you specifically had been to New Orleans, which is why I was pointing it out. So,
you like how I think you mentioned that it was going to be New Orleans in like a last episode or like on the phone or something like that, and I still was like, what are we talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Like I was like, yeah, I have an extra episode on New Orleans, and you were like, bet,
and then
you acknowledged it,
and then I was like, hey, are we doing an episode? And she was like, yeah, for my location. And I was like, where are we going? What?
It's a time, y'all. So, geographically, New Orleans is located about 100 miles upstream of the Gulf of Mexico along the Mississippi River, and it is considered a major port city, so very, very important to U.S. economy.
I see what you did there. Important.
Oh, a pun that I didn't even catch.
I know. I'm here.
It sits... You are 1 to 2 feet below sea level, which is really, really weird. Basically, it was built on a delta and is not supposed to be a place that people build, but they did. So what?
Well, I'm just thinking of like, I didn't realize it was under sea level.
Yes.
Is it sinking like Venice?
No, it's not sinking like Venice. They're running more into possibilities of higher sea level being a problem as opposed to the city actually sinking.
Which one? Venice or New Orleans?
New Orleans. Venice is actually physically sinking.
Physically sinking, right.
Yes. Yeah, New Orleans is just at risk for higher sea level. It is, on that note, surrounded by water. We've got, I'm going to say this wrong, Lake Pontchartrain. I know I said that wrong, but that's what I'm saying. To the north, the Mississippi River is to the south and the west. And then there are bayous and canals that run all the way through the city. Yeah. And they are prone to natural disasters, specifically hurricanes. And we're going to talk, of course, about, one of the most famous hurricanes that have ever hit there. And we're going to talk about something else that a lot of people don't realize happened with that famous hurricane. But first, let's get into when it was founded. Whitney's like, what? Yeah, you'll get...
like,
it's a teaser.
Okay. More on that next week. See you soon. Not that kind of teaser.
In the podcast. It was founded in 1718 by the French Mississippi Company, and this was Jean-Baptiste Lemoyne Jean-Baptiste Lemoyne de Bienville. So
cool.
So French.
Very French.
It was it was basically a French colonial settlement from 1718 to 1763, and it was originally known, the entire city was known as the French Quarter. So this is also Vieux Carré in French.
French.
And shit.
In French, we say this.
God damn it.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, y'all. It was designed by Adrien de Poger. I can imagine mom trying to say all of these.
Je
So
m'appelle Claude.
Claude, Adrien de Poger, France ceded Louisiana to Spain in the Treaty of Paris in 1763.
I when you said seeded, I was like, so they put people there, they planted things, and then I realized what we were talking about.
Yes, yeah, they gave it
Yeah.
away.
They
Yeah.
ga they gave it
So
away.
it was in Spanish control from 1763 to 1803, and it grew significantly because the Spanish, the French, the African, and the Creole people began populating. What it's known for is the architectural style that is seen in the French Quarter today. The original architectural style was French, but
Mhm.
a major fire in 1788 and then another one in 1794 destroyed the city. So that's what led to the more Spanish influence is they had to rebuild. So
Okay.
there was a mild interlude of French coming back into the picture between 1800 and 1803 in the what is this called? The Treaty of San Ildefonso, perhaps. Uh, However, Napoleon Bonaparte said, "You know what? The U.S. can have Louisiana."
Napoleon.
Napoleon. He said the U.S. can have Louisiana because they were undergoing some financial troubles. The French were, and so he sold it to the U.S. and the Louisiana Purchase.
Okay.
So
I
yeah.
don't know why that made me think of him being like, "I'm doing you guys a favor."
Oh,
Like, what
100%. That's
what
how he thought of it.
but
100%.
you okay.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
he was like, "Yeah, you can have this. We don't need it." When really
We
in this
don't
back end,
want it.
yeah, he's like, "I really need this Casio." So, from that point, it's an American city, and
Hooray.
hooray, it became very important to the US economy because of its location on the coast. And
Mhm.
it served as a crucial city for the Confederacy during the Civil War until it was captured by Union forces in 1862.
I know.
Yay. So, uh in the 20th century, of course, it became known for its cultural contributions to music, specifically jazz, its
Mhm.
cuisine, Mardi Gras, all of those different things.
Mhm.
However, it had issues with racial segregation, economic shifts, and then natural disasters such as Hurricane Katrina, which came through
Mhm.
in 2005. Now, Katrina, of course, is famous for the loss of life that was associated with the hurricane. There was about 1,500 people that passed away from this because of the failing of the levees that
Mhm.
were blocking the water from the Ninth Ward, and that is primarily how Louisiana or how New Orleans handles the fact that they are a couple feet below sea level, is they have these levees that keep the water out. Um, what people don't realize, so Hurricane Katrina came in as a Category 3 hurricane to Louisiana. People
Yeah.
don't realize that a month after that, Hurricane Rita came in
Mm.
at a Category 5, and then a month after that, Hurricane Wilma came in at a Category 5.
Yeah, it
So,
just kinda fucked everything up.
yeah, and I every time I tell my students this, they're always like, "Oh, I never heard about the other 2." And it's like, "Yeah, because Katrina was the
Oh.
start."
I
So,
was like, "Why haven't they heard of that?" But granted, like, I'm also on the coast, and
we were
I
aware
was
of Rita and Wilma coming
yeah,
in. Yeah, it was a thing.
yeah,
So,
of everything.
yes. So famous attractions, and many of which we are going to talk about in the next, you know, however long this takes. We got the French Quarter, we got Bourbon Street, the Garden District, Jackson Square, St. Louis Cathedral, the National World War II Museum, Preservation Hall, Frenchman Street, Mardi Gras World, which I found out is a museum that shows you how Mardi Gras comes together every year. Which I was like,
Mardi
that's
Gras World.
fascinating. That sounds cool.
See,
Yeah.
when I was there, I wanted to go to the Death Museum, um,
Yeah.
and they have, like, weird hours of operation, and whenever I went, it was when they were still operating, but apparently their AC broke, and so they closed down, so I didn't get to go.
Oh,
It
bullshit.
was
We'll have to go and
rude.
we'll go. We will make sure to go.
Yeah.
There's also the French Market, swamp tours, and then cemetery tours.
I did do cemetery tours. I went to the famous one.
Yes, we're going to talk about that cemetery in this. So,
Yeah.
the French Quarter is where we're starting.
Why is everything so French?
because it was done by the French. Did you not
No,
just
I know.
listen to the
I
history
mean
I just told you?
I'm meaning, why are you saying it like that?
Because I am
French.
French. No, I'm not French.
France!
Actually, France! I am French. But
Hey, me too!
so you're not as French as I am. You're more German.
You can
But
just eat a big old dick. Huh.
we're most we're mostly Scottish, so doesn't matter anyway. But
Mine says Scottish/Irish.
so does mine. It just means we're part of the British Isles, basically.
Do you guys wanna, like, accept us into your country and give us a place to live? Hello,
Hi, Scotland sponsor us. The whole country
this is
sponsor us.
now brought to you by Scotland.
Scotland's like, we don't know these bitches.
We
So
don't want you.
the French Quarter is bounded by the Mississippi River to the south, Rampart
Okay.
Street to the west, Canal Street to the north, and
Mhm.
Esplande Avenue to the east. And it is a total of 78 square blocks. We're going to talk about 3 different locations that are in here. The first of which, I know I did a bunch of hand motions.
Yeah.
The first of which is the Lalaurie Mansion. Have you heard of this?
I feel like I have,
Okay,
but I
maybe
don't
this will.
think it was close enough to where I was to go do anything. I don't know.
Okay, because this is a fucking wild trip. So, this
Okay.
is located in the heart of the French Quarter on 1140 Royal Street in New Orleans. And this is known for the woman of the house, who was Madame, I have to say this, Madame Delphine Lalaurie. And
Okay.
she and her husband um, had this house built. His name was Dr. Leonard Louis Nicholas Lalaurie, because of course he has 4 names. He's French. And it was built in 1832. And it
I
was,
I like that you pronounced her name with a
oh, hang on.
French accent, and then for him, you were like, "Eh."
Okay, hang on. His name was Dr. Leonard Louis Nicolas Lalaurie.
There you go. There
Okay.
you go. Okay.
So Delphine was known for her wealth and her influence in the community, and the house or the mansion was designed with a Creole style and has a very lavish interior. Now, everybody thought very highly of this family because, Delphine had lots of money. She was very influential. And in on April 10th in 1834, there was a massive fire that broke out in the kitchen of the mansion.
Oh,
And it was
no.
believed to have been started by an enslaved woman that Madame Lalaurie had chained to the stove. So,
Oh, is this no.
it might be.
There's an American Horror Story.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's oh my god, what is her name? Kathy Bates.
Yep. It is based on this story.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Yeah. So, firefighters and neighbors rush to the scene to try to help, and they discover that there is an attic where enslaved people are being held captive and they are living in horrific conditions. They are showing signs of torture and neglect. And this immediately caused public outcry. Uh, Madame Lalaurie and her family immediately left New Orleans. They never returned. And the victims were taken to the local jail where hundreds of people came to look at them. And I was like, excuse me? They were not jailed, they were brought
Oh,
there for help. I had to clarify because I was like,
so
did they jail these poor people?
so wait,
No.
did people come to, like, gawk at them, or they came to, like, physically look at them to help them?
They came to understand how bad they were treated, because there was rumor about this happening, but nobody
Okay,
really believed. So it's a combination of gawked at slash trying to understand.
okay.
So I was able to track down newspaper articles about this fire, and the Pittsburgh Post Gazette uh, says this, and this is a bunch of quotes, that it was known to some of the neighbors that the upper part of the building was used as a prison, and that it was tenanted by several unfortunate slaves loaded with chains. Now, the judge, his name was Judge Kanonge, I know I'm saying that wrong, asked Mr. Lalaurie to have the slaves moved to safety. And Mr. Lalaurie replied, and I'm quoting this, with much rudeness, replied that there were those who would be better employed if they would attend to their own affairs instead of officiously intermeddling with the concerns of other people.
Bro, that's his fucking job. Like, what?
Yeah, exactly. He's a fucking
He's
judge.
he's supposed to be like, hey, you fucked up. Don't do that shit.
Yeah. So when Mr. Lalaurie basically told him to go fuck himself, he had the townspeople bust the doors down. And the newspaper says a most appalling sight was presented in the shape of several wretched, and I'm going to say the word, it's in the newspaper, it's not me saying it, with of several wretched Negroes emerging from the fire, their bodies covered with scars and loaded with chains. Amongst them was a female slave, upward of 60 years of age, who could not move. Some young men carried her to the city guardhouse, where others, 6 in number, also conducted, to be protected from the cruelty of their owner. We saw one of these miserable beings. The sight was so horrible to look at that we could scarce look upon it. The Louisiana Advertiser said, but as proof that our population are not generally composed of such monsters as Madame Lalaurie, we have, however, much to be opposed to. Oh gosh.
Oh gosh.
Oh, we have, however much we may be opposed to mobs, the pleasure, as citizens of New Orleans, of stating last night the infuriated populace assaulted and, in their just indignation, sought the wretch, but not finding her, demolished her dwelling and destroying her property. So an angry mob came for Madame Lalaurie. She
Yeah.
wasn't home because she immediately fled, and they burned her place down. So,
Wait, they burned her place down? I thought that
wait, no,
that
I'm not
someone
saying.
in there.
So it says that they demolished her dwelling. I think that they went in and ransacked the place.
Fair and well
Yeah,
deserved.
yeah. So
Yeah.
because the mansion itself actually ends up passing through many different hands over the years, so it couldn't have been burned down. What's horrifying about this is that it was once used as a high school.
But I thought you said it was burned down. I was so
No, it wasn't burned down.
confused. You said
So there was
you
a
said it
fire
burned
that
down because of a fire.
okay, no. So a fire broke out in the kitchen. The firefighters were able to put out the fire and save the
Oh.
structure.
Oh, did I
But
not
yeah,
listen?
I don't know. You didn't know this was French for a little bit. So I'm
No, I
teasing.
knew it was French. I'm gonna
You gonna punch me through the
ah,
screen?
punch you through the computer.
Okay. So what's horrific is that this was a high school.
Uh-huh.
It was a conservatory of music at one point. It was a apartment complex, and then it was a bar. So, as of today, so many faces.
That's a weird it was I
It's a
went through a
weird
lot of
combo.
emotions. It was a very weird combo. Like
Yeah,
apartments, I was like, "Oh," because yeah, that makes sense. There's like I'm sure a lot of
yeah,
rooms and stuff. But a bar? A bar
yeah,
is a very weird, odd.
yeah. So today it is a private residence. But it's not open to the public because it is a private residence, but it's still a staple of the ghost tours that are given in the French Quarter. So
Mm.
people can come and look at it, they just can't go inside. Now,
Oh.
ooh, the different phenomenon that they experience are phantom screams and moans where visitors will hear or passerbys will hear screams, moans, cries of agony coming from inside the mansion, especially from the upper floors where the enslaved were discovered.
Like, so they're loud? Like, they're
Yes,
loud enough
loud.
that people, like, look up, or they hear it and have a sense to look up?
They hear they loud enough to look up at it is my understanding from this.
Damn.
Yeah. So they also see apparitions of enslaved people inside the mansion, and of course, they are thought to be the madam's victims. They see them
Mhm,
peering out the windows or wandering through the rooms and the hallways.
mhm.
Uh, People experience cold spots. They will be touched. They will experience dread or anxiety whenever they come near the mansion. And again, like we were saying in the last one with Huntsville, that's kind of a psychosomatic thing that you know you're coming towards a haunted thing.
Yeah.
But If you're just chilling and all of a sudden you're like, "Man, I don't feel good," and then you look over and you see the mansion, then that might be something a little bit better. Now, one thing that I did not like is the sound of phantom chains being dragged across the floor.
Ugh,
I don't like it.
no.
It
Wait,
is
we had chains. Pardon me. I'm
oh
so
my.
sorry. Wow. Excuse me. We had chains in the Huntsville one too.
We did, but it was not associated with this
Well,
kind of
no,
horror.
no,
So,
but
yeah.
I just I feel like chains is I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
Anyways,
a
move on.
thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So, the next one is spectral animals because it is thought that the madam used to mistreat animals as well, and
What a twat.
right? So, they
I
will
am,
hear
to be clear, I am enraged about everything else too. It's not just the animals,
but animals are
but
so innocent, and I mean, so are the
yeah,
slaves and that kinda thing, but it's like animals can't
they
stand up for
literally
themselves.
didn't
Like
do anything.
right,
He
they
just came
literally
over and
just
was like, "Meow,
existed.
meow,
Yeah,
kitty
which
cat."
can the same can be said for slaves and stuff as well. It's just a lot of the
Oh,
time
yeah,
they don't understand what's happening to them.
right,
That's my
and
thing, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so they said that you can hear the sound of horses in distress coming from the courtyard.
Oh,
Yes. You will also hear disembodied voices and whispers. Whispers cries for help, too faint to make out the words most of the time, what they're trying to say
ugh,
to you. And then they will have poltergeist like activity, objects moving, doors and windows opening, or being pushed and shoved.
hmm,
Okay. So that
hmm.
is the very brief yet horrific story of the
Yeah.
Lalaurie Mansion. We're going to
Now
go a little bit.
is this where that, I feel like you're gonna be like, "Shut up, stop stepping on my toes." The plantation is where they've
No,
got, like, the very memorable photo of the spectral ghost?
no, this is not that.
But that is in Louisiana, right?
I think
No, where
so,
is
but
that?
it's not. I don't know where that is. Hang on, let me look.
The the Myrtles.
Myrtle's
Haunt
Plantation?
Haunting of Myrtles Plantation, that is in, it's in Louisiana.
Yeah. I was gonna
Yeah,
do Myrtle's Plantation, but no, this is not that place. So,
okay.
I'll
I
do
just
Myrtle's
I
Plantation in a future one.
I just was like,
So,
"Oh my god."
yeah. So the next place we're going a little further down the street towards the Hotel Monteleone, and this is on
Okay.
214 Royal Street. It
Mhm.
was purchased in 1886 by Antonio Monteleone, who was an Italian immigrant and a very prominent cobbler. He was like very known for his cobbler work. It was a 64-room hotel, and Antonio added 30 more rooms by 1903. So he was building on this place very quickly. It went through numerous renovations and expansions, notably the Carousel Bar and Lounge in 1949, which is literally a revolving bar that is adorned with carousel horses. And honestly, that sounds horrific to me, but
Yeah,
whatevs.
that doesn't sound cool at all. I'm trying to find
No.
where I stayed because I'm like, that sounds familiar. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
Okay, okay. I was like trying to think of where I'm trying to do the Joey thing and put me in the
Visualize.
map. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. Okay, okay. We're good. We're good. Move on. Continue.
Okay. So today, it has over 570 luxury rooms, and it is notably a place that famous authors like to hang out, like Ernest Hemingway, Tennessee Williams, William Faulkner, and Truman
Mhm.
Capote. So,
Capote.
Capote, is that how you say it? Fuck! I'm over
God.
it. Okay, so the first one that we are going to talk about, and the most famous apparition is Maurice Bergeret. I know I'm
Okay.
saying that wrong. I'm sorry. I tried to figure out how to say it. This is the story of a
I
little
mean,
boy.
you could be
I
me,
couldn't.
and I try to figure out how to say everything. You guys don't believe me, but I literally try to figure it out every time before I say it, and then I get on here and I'm like, "Gah," and I can't figure out anything.
Yeah,
So,
it's fair. It's fair. So,
yeah.
He visited New Orleans with his parents from a rural area of Louisiana, and they stayed at the hotel. But one of the nights that they were there, Maurice became sick with a fever, and despite all of the doctors trying to help him, he passed away in his room.
So
So
he's a kid?
he he's a little kid, yes. And
Oh.
this kind of tore at my heartstrings a little bit, because the sightings are a young boy on the 14th floor, which is where he was said to have died, and he is dressed in clothing that appears to be from the early 1900s, and he's seen wandering the hallway, possibly searching for his parents. Um,
Ugh.
I know, I was like, "Don't." Um,
Oh, God.
you'll hear the sound of children's laughter, and there's no child present.
Mm-mm.
So, other ones that and I tried to do my due diligence on this. I looked for a death certificate for a Maurice Bergere, and I couldn't find
Mhm.
one. So, I found a
Hmm.
birth certificate, but I couldn't, Ancestry.com wanted me to pay for it, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm poor. I can't do that." So,
Help me, I'm poor.
help me, I'm poor. Other apparitions that they see are the jazz singer, who is a figure of a jazz singer that is seen and heard in the Carousel Bar and Lounge. It's a woman that is found singing in the early hours. She's dressed in 1920s attire, and in the event that she's approached, she vanishes. There is William
Okay.
Red Wildemere. He is a former hotel employee that died of natural causes in the hotel, and they see him in the hallways, and he is so real that guests will interact with him and not realize that he's a ghost until he disappears.
Those ones freak me out. Like, I think it's so
Me
cool,
too.
but also at the same time, like, because I've heard so many stories like that where they're like, "Oh my god, this little girl was around," and, like, couldn't figure out who she was with. And it's like, "Yeah, there was no
Mhm.
girl here." And there's like, "Ah!"
Right, yeah.
Anyways.
So then there is Josephine and Jacques. This is a young girl and her brother that are seen around the area where the old hotel pool was before the hotel was remodeled. Turns out there was a girl, this is a legend, that the girl drowned in the pool, and she can be seen looking for her brother, calling his name softly. It
Ugh.
doesn't say anything about her brother, like if he's spotted. Because I didn't have last names, I wasn't able to check whether or not this is an actual true legend. So
Yeah.
yeah. But there's also said to be an elevator phantom, that the elevator will operate on its own, it will stop on the wrong floors, or it will uh open its doors to empty hallways in the middle of the night, like someone called it and there's actually no one there.
Okay.
I know, tell
That's
your
what happened
story.
at the LaSalle.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't need to tell it because you can go back and listen to it. But yeah, like, hey.
Yeah, that's legit. So it's said to be a spirit, but nobody's been able to specify an identity associated with it. So other phenomena that they experience, you've got the disembodied voices, with children laughing, conversations stopping when a room is entered and nobody's in there, calls for help. You'll hear doors opening and closing, lights will turn on and off, hands will touch people, and footsteps, of course.
Hands, touching hands, touching
Touching me.
you.
Yes. The next one is the Ursuline Convent. God. Ursuline Convent.
Wow.
Yas. This is on 1100 Chartres Street. Yes, I think I'm saying that right. It's in the
I
French Quarter.
I called it chartreuse, not chartreuse. I don't know.
Chartres? Okay.
Chartreuse? Like
I'm going
chart
with the French. I'm
dress?
going Yeah, the French
Yeah, there's
pronunciation would be
definitely
Chartres.
no way that I'm correct. So,
Okay. All right.
yeah.
So it is bounded by Chartres Street, Ursulines Avenue, and Decatur Street. And this was run by the Ursuline nuns, which were Catholics that were founded in Italy in 1535. So very, very old. They were invited by the French crown to New Orleans to provide education and religious instruction to the girls of the colony. So they came in about 1727 and they started construction on the convent in 1745 under Ignace Bruton.
Ignacio?
No, there's no, it's Ignace. Ignace.
Ig
That sounds very
Ignat
Italian to me. Ignace.
eh.
I don't know. It was completed in 1752 and it provided healthcare services. It took in orphans and
Or orphans?
it took in orphans and
Is that like
established
endorphins, but, like, without a brain?
I guess. It established the first Catholic school in the future United States. So this
Hmm,
is the
that's
only
cool.
building that remains, yeah, the only building that remains from the French colonial period in New Orleans. It survived the fires, the hurricanes, and the war. So it somehow outlasted all of this. Um, it has been
Stone.
used as I know. It's been used as a barracks. It's been used as an archbishop's residence, and oh god, I looked up how to say this. Our Archdiocesan Central Office.
Okay.
Okay, so in
Like, don't
1824,
look at me, I don't
I
know.
know. I just yeah, I looked up how to say it, and that's what it said.
Okay.
1824, the nuns moved to a new convent uptown, and
Mhm.
the convent is now considered a part of the Catholic Cultural Heritage Center of the Archdiocesan of New Orleans.
Wow.
So it's an important place.
That's
Now,
a mouthful.
yes. So this place is known for the spirit of the nuns themselves, apparitions in I just said apparitions again. Yeah, apparitions in nun attire are seen moving silently through the halls and gardens, which is just creepy as fuck to me.
Ooh.
Uh, people feel unseen presences and hear whispers, and they are seen as protective spirits. So whenever somebody tries to bring harm or something harmful to the convent, the nuns get angry.
I still don't like that they're silent, like, that just, like, I don't
Yeah,
but I mean, I also
is
don't know
not
what I would
okay.
expect them to, like, say, like,
Yeah,
I don't know,
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
So there's also the unexplained noises, cold spots, and feelings of being watched, because of course. But then they are also known for what are called the casket girls or filles à la cassette. These are 18th century French, in the 18th century, the French government wanted to raise the population of the North American colonies. So they took young women that were often
Mm-mm.
orphans or from poor families and
I don't
sent
like
them to
it.
the colonies to marry the settlers.
Nope.
And they were sponsored by the King of France.
No.
So they were named the Casket Girls due to the
Mm.
small trunks that they brought with them. Okay.
Okay,
When they
not as
arrived in New Orleans,
menacing as it initially sounds. I still don't like it.
just
Um,
just wait. Just
oh,
wait.
okay,
So
buckle in.
they are taken to the Ursuline convent, and the nuns were tasked with basically just looking after them until they managed to get them married off. However, they ended up being a great benefit to the city because they brought order and civility to basically what was just Mantown. So, uh,
Welcome to Mantown.
so the
That is the start of Mardi Gras. That's what happened. They were like, "Show me your
yeah,
tits," and they were like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa," and they're like,
whoa, whoa,
"We still
whoa.
have to be able to have Mantown every now and then, so show me your tits."
Yes, there you go.
That's what
That's what we
happened.
should do. We should do a history of Mardi Gras. That would be fascinating.
Oh, okay. I was like, I
Not
don't
show not show
yeah,
people
I
our
was like,
tits.
I
That's
don't
not
wanna
okay.
do that. I don't
I don't think I want
I
that.
don't think I want that. Continue with your
So,
story.
the the legend that was surrounded with the casket girls was that sometimes their caskets were not filled with their personal items, but with vampires that they were bringing over from Europe. And this was
Oh,
yes.
I like it. Oh, that's exciting. Oh, let's get some vampires
Yes.
in here.
So this was perpetuated by the fact that the girls had a pale complexion, and apparently the very fact that they were even remotely associated with France just made it worse. So
You're pale, you're French, vampire. Like,
yes.
what?
So basically what they thought was because of this, the caskets would be put on the third floor and then the convents sealed off the third floor to contain the vampires or the evils that were associated with them. And they were said that the shutters were permanently closed, blessed, and sealed with holy nails. And it's still not possible to get onto the third floor to this day.
Okay. I
I know. It's such a lackluster end
like
to people bringing vampires from Europe. But
well,
yeah,
I have so many I don't understand why you guys blocked it all off. Like it is holy ground. If the vampires are real, they can't do anything
that's
because it's holy
so
ground. So
part
like
of the
why'd you
problem.
lock it all off?
So part of the problem has to do with the fact that vampires have to be let in. By letting in the casket girls, the vampires were let into the convent. So
But it's still holy
it's still holy ground.
ground.
I get you. Yeah. But this was basically what their solution was, that they were like, if it's evil, we'll just seal it off. So, yeah.
I feel like that's a solution for a lot of like history.
That's
They're just like,
legit.
ah, don't do it, don't touch it, just leave it alone. Like fuck it,
That's
ah.
a problem for future people. Yes.
Yeah.
So, that is the majority. That was just a small foray into the French Quarter. The French Quarter is just crazy haunted.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yes. So we're going to talk about the next thing we're going to talk about is the St. Louis Cemetery number 1. This is also the last thing we're talking about. So this is the one that you went to, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So this is on 425 Basin Street. It is a very short walk from the French Quarter, and
Mhm.
it was established due to the growing population and the inadequacy of existing burial sites in 1789. So,
Also, also, maybe you talk about this, but the fact that they're apparently below sea level is the whole reason why they have to be buried
yes, I'm
above
going to talk about
ground.
that.
Oh, okay. I was like, I just little tidbit. You can't go
Yes.
underground for
Yes.
that.
Yeah. So, it replaced the older St. Peter's Cemetery that got raised after the fire in 1788, and it was consecrated by the Spanish colonial government, which made it a big part of the city's transition from French to Spanish rule whenever they took over.
Okay.
It has 19th century funerary art and architecture, and it ranges from simple unadorned tombs to entire elaborate mausoleums. And it is a above grounds burial site because New Orleans has a high water table because they are 1 to 2 feet below sea level. So they were having issues with bodies either rotting due to being exposed to the water table, or whenever flooding would occur, coffins would float up to the surface and they'd have to rebury them. So they decided it was just in everybody's best interest. Let's just make this above ground.
So that okay, and maybe you'll talk about it, but the fact that the bodies are rotting and they're upset about that. So whenever I went, the whole point of the above ground thing is it's basically a family tomb.
Yes.
Like, yeah. And the whole thing is like, if grandma dies, you put grandma in there. And then in a year, grandma has now baked to a crisp and you dust her up and
Hmm.
you put her in a bag. And then whenever grandpa dies, you put grandpa in there. Grandma's still in there, but in a bag. And then in a year,
Hmm.
you come and you dust him up. And then you just keep adding people.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why we were upset with the corpses um, rotting whenever
Smell.
instead we decided to bake them. And you think that a baked one
I don't
smells better?
I mean, maybe it was a combination of you think a baked one smells bad. Uh,
I'm just saying.
it doesn't smell like a croissant, Taylor. Um,
Yeah, it's not gonna I mean, maybe some jerky, but like, ugh.
but maybe they have more control over how much
I
of that
mean,
smell actually gets out with the mausoleum, as opposed to if bodies are rotting underground and just kind of sitting there, and then you have a flooding event that raises them to the surface, then I don't
yeah, I
know.
guess. I don't
I didn't
know.
see anything about it.
Yeah, I'm thinking
So
because like even whenever we were on the tour and he was like, "Yeah, you just stick them in there and it's like a barbecue of grandma," and it's like, well, who is wanting that? Like, 'Cause that
Blech.
was the whole, like, their parades and stuff, like, not their
Yeah.
parades, but, like, their those death parades is
Mhm.
partially going and scooping up grandma and putting her in her bag, like, that's
Yeah. It's not okay either way, it's gross.
anyways.
So, um, they have had difficulty in preservation, as
Mhm,
always, because of vandalism, theft, weather-related stuff. The Arc Archdiocese of New Orleans has restricted the access to guided tours only, so that's the only way that you can
yeah,
get in now. It is the final resting place of Homer Plessy, who was the plaintiff in the 1896 Supreme Court case for racial segregation, Plessy versus Ferguson.
mhm,
It is the final resting place of Marie Laveau, who we're going to talk about in
mhm.
just a second. And then there are a couple of other people in here as well that we actually talked about in episode 4 of this podcast. So we're going to review them. And let's
Great,
talk
because
about
I don't remember what we just did an hour ago, so
that tracks. So Marie Laveau is known as the Voodoo Queen of New Orleans, and she was
Mhm.
born in the French Quarter in 1801. She is believed to be a mix of African, Native American, and French. And her grandmother and her mother were very involved in voodoo practices, and this voodoo is considered a combination of West African, Native American, and Catholic spiritual practices. And I'm tempted to do an episode on voodoo. I think that would be a really, really
I
cool
was gonna
episode.
say, I think it would be interesting because then I wondered what the difference between voodoo and hoodoo is.
Yeah, they are 2 different things, yeah. So maybe we'll do an episode comparing voodoo and hoodoo. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Due to her charismatic personality, knowledge, and her ability to talk to spirits, she became a renowned leader of voodoo in the early to mid 19th century. And she held large gatherings for voodoo ceremonies on the banks of the Bayou St. John at Congo Square.
Okay.
She was a devout Catholic, and because of this, she worked to incorporate Catholic elements into voodoo rituals, which actually made it more accessible to the people of New Orleans because they were like, well, Catholicism is a big thing here, but now we've got this voodoo thing. And she was known as more of a nurse and healer. So,
I'm surprised she got as away with it.
yes,
Like,
she she got away, like, considering she is of African descent, she is dark-skinned, she is free in a time whenever you are not, like, that is it's amazing that she was free, and the whole reason that
and
she was go ahead.
doing voodoo
Yes,
in
like,
conjunction with Catholicism, like,
she
damn,
was
girl.
she was just so well respected because of how good she was at what she did.
Yeah.
So she was known as a nurse and a healer. She had a robust knowledge of herbal remedies to treat those suffering from things like yellow fever and everything she had a treatment for.
Mhm.
She aided the imprisoned and was a spiritual counselor for anybody that wanted it. She was seen as a philanthropist and a pivotal figure in her community. She passed away on June 16th of 1881 and is entombed in St. Louis Cemetery number 1, and her grave is often the site of pilgrimage. People will come and leave 3 X's on her grave in hopes that
Mhm.
they'll have wishes granted.
Yeah.
So, hauntings that we see with St. Louis Cemetery number 1 is, of course, Marie Laveau is thought to roam the
But
cemetery.
but wait. So, Marie Laveau's daughter is also buried in the same cemetery,
Yes.
and
Yes, she is.
but they labeled her as Marie Laveau as well. Like, they have
Yeah.
the Marie Laveau, and then they've got the daughter, and it's believed that maybe it was kind of like a cruel joke on either the daughter or Marie Laveau that they did it that way, but people will go and put X's on the daughter's, um,
Yes.
tomb
So
instead, which won't grant anything.
right. So they actually say that, the Glapion family crypt is where Marie Laveau is actually buried. So the one that people are putting X's on isn't actually her tomb, it's actually her
Mm,
daughter's. So
yeah.
They say that they feel her spirit near that family crypt, and they often feel ill when they get close to it. They'll hear voices and they report being touched. Uh, the ones that we talked about in episode 4 are Henry Vignier. He was a sailor in the 19th century. He was considered a nomad. And this was the guy that was worried about his papers, the family tomb titles, when he went to sea. So he gave the owner of a boarding house that he was staying at the titles because the owner said that all would be well, and then he would have the tomb whenever he came back. He ended up selling the family's tomb while Vignier was away
Oh,
at
yeah,
sea.
I remember this because I was like,
Yes.
"Fuck that guy." Like, because they would
Yes.
go and they would leave, like,
Yeah.
flowers and stuff, and it was like, "It's not even for the guy," like, ugh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it
he
was
fell ill
tragic.
and died. Yes, and because his tomb was sold, he was buried in an unmarked grave in the pauper section.
Yeah.
His ghost is seen full body apparition, blue eyes, tall. He asks people if he knows where the Vignier's tomb is because he's having trouble finding it himself. And
Oh.
supposedly he'll come up during funerals and ask people if there's room in their tomb for him.
Ugh, that's
Yeah.
so sad, but also like,
It's horrific, but it's yeah.
ugh.
And then there's Alphonse, that we believe was murdered or betrayed by the Penede family, which I didn't get into the history of this. I might do a little bit more on him. Because whenever someone approaches the Penede family tomb, Alphonse tells them to stay away, and he will take the hands of visitors and smile and ask them to bring him home, which means, he wants them to take him to his tomb, basically, and he will gather flowers off of other people's graves and place them on his own tomb.
Well, I feel like I did that. I think I had the same reaction last time.
Yes, that it was like,
Because I was like,
but
"That's not your fucking flowers. Those are for them."
I feel
Like,
like
I
I could
think I had the
literally splice
exact.
in.
Yeah, you probably could, and you could be like, "Yeah, this was Whitney a year ago." Like,
Yes,
still upset
so
about the same shit.
isn't that insane that this was a year ago? Like, we are
What?
coming back to the
Happy
same place.
anniversary, y'all!
Yeah, I didn't
Oh
even plan that.
my god.
He didn't plan
Wow.
that. That's
Oh my
that's
gosh.
crazy. So that is our very brief foray into New Orleans, and I know that there's a
Nerlens.
thousand more places, and so I'm sure that there will be a Nolans point part 2.
Point
So,
2.
oh, for the French, it's pas
Duh.
de.
Dos.
So,
Equis.
okay, we do Spanish. I mean, Spanish is part of this, isn't it? So,
It is.
so yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed that and that little trip down memory lane there. And
Yeah.
yeah, so we hope that you keep listening.
Yeah, and we will spook you bitches later.
Speculator bitches.
Bitches.
Goodbye.
I thought you were gonna do like the bird hand motion, like the bird flying.
Nope.
She did like a opening of her hands and stuff, but the
Yeah.
way she started up, it looked like she was like, ah, and like it's a dove.
Nope.
Anyways, whatever. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.